We would like to start the regular press conference by Minister Hayashi. Minister, please.
Well, thank you. I have 4 points to make at the outset. First, my visit to Poland from today to April the 5th. With the instruction of Prime Minister, I will visit Poland as the Prime Minister's special envoy by confirming on the ground the status of Ukraine displaced persons, and through meetings with government dignitaries and international organizations, efforts will be made to grasp the challenges in regards to local needs and the receiving of displaced persons and link it to future assistances. To support the Ukrainian people in difficulty and to show our solidarity further with Ukraine, Japan is proceeding to receive Ukraine people who took refuge in third countries and receive them. And by gaining Japanese people's understanding, whole of government efforts will be made to extend the necessary support with relevant ministries, including Ministry of Justice. Now let me next talk about measures against DPRK. Coming into this year particularly, DPRK has made repeated launches in a new mode with a frequency like never before. A series of DPRK's activities such as the launch of March the 24th ICBM class ballistic missiles that further raises attention, threatens peace and security of Japan region as well as that of the international community and is totally unacceptable. In this context, today's cabinet meeting as anti-DPRK measures to resolve comprehensively outstanding issues of abduction, nuclear, and missile. On pending issues, the understanding was made to designate additional target for asset fees based on foreign exchange law, namely 4 entities and 9 individuals involved in nuclear and missile development prohibited by UNSC resolution related to DPRK. Japan will seek to DPRK strongly to take action to resolve issues to Japan, US ROK, as well as with working closely with the international community. We will seek DPRK to completely denuclearize. Next is the review of the warning on the infectious diseases. MOFA has been looking into the situation of the COVID-19 situation overseas, and by way of information, we have been issuing the warning on the infectious diseases for those who are traveling and staying abroad. Of course, each country and each region differs in the status of the infection, but the worldwide trend is that there is a declining trend for the number of deaths as well as the number of newly infected people. Centering around the people whose countries whose vaccination had progressed, there is a declining trend for the severe cases and the number of the deaths. And the relaxation of regulation on border measures and domestically has been going on. Based on that, by comprehensively taking into account the real situation of the region and the country, we decided to review the warning on the infectious diseases. Level 3 recommendation not to travel designation, which was decreased to 56 countries and regions from hitherto 162 countries and regions. The details you can find in the subsequent press release to be issued. I hope you can take a look at it. For those who are traveling from Japan to abroad, I recommend that you will look at the travel advisory as well as warning on the infectious diseases, and well in advance recommend that you would complete your vaccination, then go to the overseas countries. My 4th point at the very outset, well, today, for Myanmar and Palestine assistance, $11.65 million, $8.3 million for Myanmar, $3.35 million for Palestine. Emergency grant assistance were decided to be provided for Myanmar. Coup had occurred in February last year. Ever since in northeast and northwestern region, incessantly armed conflict had occurred, which had given the rise to the number of IDPs, causing shortage of daily necessities and foodstuff. Through international organizations like UNICEF, WFP, and UNHCR, in a way that citizens will directly benefit, $8.3 million assistance will be provided. For Palestine, in the Gaza, there was an armed conflict which had occurred between Israel and Palestine, and its impact still lingers. In the meantime, COVID-19 infection had spread, and the humanitarian situation deteriorated due to the flood damage done at the end of January this year. So through the UNRWA, vis-à-vis the vulnerable Palestinian refugees, $3.35 million assistance will be given on the health and the medical care related goods, inclusive of the food assistance and the care for patients. Japanese government will stand with the people of Myanmar and Palestine and continue with the assistances. Thank you.
So we would like to take questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand. If you're designated, please approach the microphone and please ask question after identifying your name and affiliation. Asahi Nobira-san, please. Asahi Nobira, at the onset, you talked about the visit to Poland. I have a question related to that. Upon return with the government plane, for those people who would like to evacuate to Japan, you are considering to take them on the plane. What is the current plan situation?
There is a country who shares the border with Ukraine, which is Poland. And Polish government dignitaries and organizations, I will have a talk and also grasp on the ground the situation of the displaced persons, inclusive of the points that you had mentioned. Coordination is underway. Please ask our experts about the details.
Next question, please. Sankei Shimbun, Chiba-san, please. I'm Chiba from Sankei newspaper about the visit to Poland. Former Foreign Minister Kono on SNS about your trip schedule. So you participate on the diet on the 5th, and in order for you to participate in the NATO foreign ministers meeting, you will make another round of trip to Europe, and you might be very tired, and you will lose opportunity for foreign diplomacy, which may be not beneficial for the national interest. I think he mentioned about the deliberation and the schedule for NATO meeting and not fixed. But as a minister, what is your take about your business trip schedule?
Yeah. As for the diplomatic schedule, on and after April the 5th, it's subject to the coordination. Of course, understanding has been given by the Diet about the importance of my visit, and much consideration has been paid, and we are very grateful for that.
Next question, please. NHK Aoki-san, please. Aoki from NHK. The infection, warning on infectious disease. Over 100 countries, information will be reviewed and downgraded. And as for the visit to those countries, for example, what kind of purpose of the travel will be become easier?
Well, thank you for your question about the warning on the infectious diseases. It's one of the indicators which can be referenced when one is planning to go abroad or stay there in terms of the safety. So it doesn't have any compulsory power to limit the overseas travel and staying. It's just a warning on the danger involved. But in universities and the companies, I know that this information are used as a point of reference for making decisions as to the related people's overseas travel. MOFA will remain in close coordination with local government and related organization, and continue to provide sufficient information which can be referenced by the people abroad.
Mr. please. Asuhari desu.
Army Japan. My question is, what is Japan's terms, quote unquote, to lift its sanctions against Russia? And we heard the US President Biden called on regime change in Russia, although it's not clear the case, but do you have the same opinion that you can't deal with the current regime in Russia? Thank you.
はい、ありがとうございます。
Well, thank you very much for your question. What is the condition for lifting the sanctions against Russia? Of course, as soon as possible, we hope Russia will listen to what the international community are saying and stop the invasion. We are working closely with the international community, inclusive of G7, and we feel it's necessary to continue taking a strong sanction measures against Russia, and we are keeping up with that. With regard to your question, I cannot go ahead of what could happen in future. However, as I said, in coordination with the international community, inclusive of G7, we will take appropriate responses.
Next question.
And one more point, sorry, you asked me two questions, right? About the U.S. Government situation. I am of the understanding that the U.S. administration is not seeking the regime change on the part of the Russia. We really hope that President Putin will stop as soon as possible invasion into Ukraine and withdraw Russian troops. Vis-à-vis Russia, we are asking for that very strongly. And we have been taking strong sanction measures in coordination with the international community, including G7, against Russia. So we will look at the development carefully and take appropriate measures in coordination with G7. I cannot say anything more on this at this time.
Next question, please. IWJ, please. Hello? Internet IWJ. I have a question about Ukraine. Former Ukrainian ambassador Sumi Shigeki on the March 18th news program, he talked about the President Putin's statement asked about the Donbass attack. He totally rejected the statement at the House of Councilors foreign meeting. He did not deny the statement. And at the Inter-Terrorism 2021 version, Azov Association was designated as the neo-Nazi association. And UNHCR, in its report about the Ukraine situation in Donbass, there is a seizure as well as a rape situation ongoing. The former ambassador's Sumi's statement is contradictory to the statement of UNHCR. Is it the official view of the MOFA? If not, would you say your official statement, please?
Without the consent of Ukraine, Russia had sent Russian troops within the territory of Ukraine and had taken military activities. This is the illegal exercising of the force, which is prohibited by Article 2-4 of UN Charter, which is a grave violation of international law. The Russia's aggression against Ukraine is the attempt to change the status quo unilaterally by force. It shakes the foundation of international order. This is a blatant violation of international law, which is totally unacceptable. We would condemn it. And we take it seriously, the fact that many people have been victimized in Ukraine. And there is a ICC, Rome Code. And with regard to the genocide, to the complete part of national, ethnic, and racial and religious regions with clear intent, murder will be conducted on the collective target. Of course, we don't know what happened on the ground, so we cannot say definitely whether genocide had occurred or not. However, prosecutors, ICC, are working on it, and we would look at the development very closely. So we had to refer the case to ICC as well. And also about Ambassador Sumi that you had mentioned, the former ambassador, with regard to the Ukraine eastern area situation based on his own experiences, said that there was no genocide by Ukraine side. I know that. But at any rate, Russia's aggression against Ukraine is the attempt to change the status quo unilaterally by force, which shakes the foundation of international order. So, more than anything else, it is a blatant violation of international law, which is totally unacceptable, and we condemn it very strongly. And also, you talked about the UN Charter. I told you this is Article 24. Sorry, I correct this. It's Article 2. Sorry, not 24, but Article 2.
Next question, please. Sawai-san, please. TV Asahi Sawai. So the capital of Ukraine, Kiev's nomenclature changed yesterday as the government about the naming of Ukraine names. You said you will follow Ukraine language Chernobyl and other parts which are widely used for a long time. They are going to change. And the president of Ukraine expressed appreciation on the web SNS. What is the background and what is the significance of this change?
There was aggression conducted by Russia against Ukraine, and we had conducted a wide review about what activities we can take to show our further solidarity with Ukraine, as well as the Ukraine assistances at the Japanese government, so that Russian name will be changed to Ukraine, and many of the views have been collected from different quarters. Based on that, with regard to the appropriate naming, we had referred to the intention of the Ukraine government, and responses had come back from the Ukraine side, so that it used to be Kiev, Russian language base, but will be changed to Kyiv to describe the capital of Ukraine based on the Ukraine language. As for the geographical names, apart from the capital, everything else will be in alignment with Ukraine language based. For example, Chernobyl will be Chornobili, Odessa will be changed to Odessa, and Dnipro will be changed to Dnipro, for example.
Any other questions? Nobira-san of Asahi Shimbun, please. Asahi Shimbun, Nobira, about the missile experiment by North Korea. So underground nuclear preparation is underway according to U.S. media report. As the minister, as the Japanese government, do you have such information? And at the same time as ICBM launched, the resumption of the nuclear experiment was suggested in this January. In the near future, do you think there is a possibility that North Korea will resume the nuclear experiment?
Well, you had pointed out to the press report, and I know about that, but our policy is not to make a comment one by one on the individual press reportings. And also, as for the activities of DPRK going forward, we don't prejudge the situation. As far as Japan is concerned, of course, nuclear missile development and so forth, we look at the development of DPRK with great attention, have been gathering the information and so forth. We will look at the situation, and also we'll have a warning and surveillance done based on the information gathered. We would seek DPRK for the complete denuclearization. We will work closely with the United States as well as with ROK.
Lastly, Sankei, Chiba-san, please. I'm Chiba from Sankei about North Korea. At the onset, you talked about the additional sanction. The Russian groups and individuals were included in the additional list. In relating to the missile development of North Korea, the involvement by the Russian state as well as assistance, how do you see this?
Well, I told you about the measures taken this time. So individuals and entities asset freeze has been decided who have been involved in the nuclear and missile plan, which is prohibited by the UN Security Council resolution. So there has been an additional target for sanction. The 4 entities and 9 individuals, and out of which 4 entities and 3 individuals are Russian organization and individual, and 6 individuals are from DPRK.
Now we would like to conclude the press conference. Thank you.